scene on the Olympic Peninsula. We'll discuss whether Washington State ought to revoke the commercial licenses of truckers who don't demonstrate English proficiency. What's the best response to a rally of Christian nationalists at Gasworks Park tomorrow? How do you want your city government to use AI or not? And I've been told about a home run hitting catcher a record 50 times a day. That might come up. And we'll talk about what made us smile this week. I really hope you're in on the show. Stay tuned.
KUOW's Summer Activity Series is your antidote to the summer slump. Each week we'll send you a print-at-home activity sheet full of games, puzzles, coloring pages, local recommendations, and more. It's sure to keep public radio nerds of all ages engaged and entertained all summer long. So let's have some fun. Grab a buddy and your favorite pen and sign up today at kuow.org/summer. Support for KUOW comes from the 26th Annual Port Townsend Film Festival, featuring over 70 independent films, live music, filmmaking workshops, and guests, September 18th through 21st. Passes and information at ptfilm.org.
Catch all the local newscasts in a new place. Your podcast feed. Listen to KUOW Newscast, updated every hour with new headlines. Find it in the KUOW app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Rabi Al-Madin jumbles his timelines and doesn't build stories brick by brick.
I prefer novels that are threads going this way and that. What you end up with is not a house, but a nice Persian carpet.
His newest, set in Lebanon, is about a man and his elderly, formidable mother. The true story of Raja the Gullible, Saturday on Weekend Edition from NPR News.
Weekend Edition starts tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. here at 94.9 KUOW. We have partly to mostly cloudy skies throughout the day, expecting a high around 83. We are at 68 at 12:01. Thanks for listening.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump's bypassing congressional approval to take back nearly $5 billion in foreign aid through a tactic known as pocket rescission. The proposal comes late in the fiscal year, leaving Congress little time to accept or reject it before funding expires. A court hearing into Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook's bid to block President Trump from firing her ended today without a ruling. Trump says there's cause after an ally accused Cook of mortgage fraud. Bloomberg managing editor Mike Regan is covering the case.
Lisa Cook's attorney is arguing that she had no due process. She hasn't been tried and convicted of anything, and that this is basically just a smear campaign, in her defense lawyer's words, by a political operative in President Trump's administration.
Mike Regan on NPR's Here and Now. A memorial of flowers, photos, and personal messages is growing outside Minneapolis' Annunciation Catholic Church. 2 children were killed and 18 people were injured Wednesday as Catholic school students and faculty were attending back-to-school Mass. Peter Cox of Minnesota Public Radio reports on the 8 and 10-year-old children who were killed.
10-year-old Harper Moisky's family released a statement saying, quote, Harper was a bright, joyful, and deeply loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her. 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel was also killed. His father, Jesse Merkel, spoke Thursday.
I've heard many stories accounting the swift and heroic actions of children and adults alike from inside the church. Without these people and their selfless actions, this could have been a tragedy of many magnitudes more. For these people, I'm thankful.
Several prominent Minnesota Democrats, including members of Congress, are calling for a ban on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. For NPR News, I'm Peter Cox in Minneapolis.
Officials in Florida say closing the immigration detention center they call Alligator Alcatraz will cost the state more than $200 million. NPR's Greg Allen reports a federal judge has ordered the facility to shut down.
U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams said the detention center's hasty construction without public input or an assessment of its environmental impact violated federal law. She ordered Florida to remove fencing, lighting, generators, and essentially cease operations at the site. Florida and the Trump administration are appealing the order, but federal immigration authorities have been transferring detainees to other sites, and officials say the facility will soon be empty. In a court court filing, a Florida official says complying with the order is costing the state between $15 and $20 million, and that the state will lose as much as $218 million if the detention center is shut down permanently. Greg Allen, NPR News, Miami.
The Dow is down 117 points. You're listening to NPR News.
This is KUOW News. I'm Paige Browning in Seattle. Border Patrol officials say 2 firefighters arrested at the Bear Gulch fire were in the country unlawfully. The agency says it was called to the site by the Bureau of Land Management to help verify employment on 2 private contractor crews. David Diaz is a crew boss on one of the teams and saw the arrests happen.
Previous seasons were never like this, but I know the world's changing as we go. We know the process now of what they expect and what we expect now on both ends to make things right so we could keep moving forward.
The contracts with the 2 companies were suspended and 42 workers sent home, amounting for a loss of 10% of the workforce on the state's largest fire. Several Washington Congress members and the governor have expressed concern and are pressing for more information from immigration officials. Seattle Mariners outfielder Victor Robles will now only miss 7 games as his sanction for throwing a bat at a pitcher. Major League Baseball initially suspended Robles for 10 MLB games. Today, ESPN reports the league reduced it based on appeal by the players' representatives. State transportation leaders say they hope to have 1 lane of the White River Bridge open by mid or late September. The bridge that connects Buckley to Enumclaw was shut down last week after a truck crashed into and damaged the span. WashDOT officials now say they're going to install 5 temporary braces so they can open 1 lane of alternating traffic. And as the school year is about to start up again, conditions for contagious infections to spread among kids in Washington are ripe in the state. University of Washington infectious disease expert Dr. Helen Chu is expressing concern this week that a rise in viruses is coming. She suggests parents act now to get children up to date on vaccines. This is KUOW.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their premium travel card, Venture X. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Welcome to Friday. Welcome to KUOW's Week in Review. Hi, I'm Bill Radke. I've assembled a panel. You're going to like them. We're going to talk about what happened this week and what it means. We've got Geekwire contributing editor. Welcome back, Mike Lewis.
Hey, Bill. Good to see you.
Good to see you. KUOW Seattle Now host Patricia Murphy. Thanks for coming on my show.
You bet, Bill. Glad to be here.
I'd come on your show anytime.
I know.
I have. We've done
many
Casual
times,
Friday.
Many times.
And the host of Jeopardy. What more can I say? Ken Jennings, it is so good to have you here.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. Are you going to come on my show, Bill?
I would love to come on Jeopardy. I mean, it's about time. I've interviewed you.
Let the betting start on how Bill does.
I know it. I'll take how will Bill do.
No, I want to hear your 20-second anecdote about your pet. That's right. That's the real Jeopardy stress.
Sure,
right
yeah. That is stressful. By the way, maybe all our listeners don't know that you live here. I don't know. I don't want to assume that. At least most time you live or here.
Seattle native. I commute to LA for Jeopardy.
Yes. How much Jeopardy is because it's the season's about to start, right?
Yes, a week from Monday.
So how much is in the can?
Season 42. We have 3 weeks already in the can, and we're usually more ahead than that, but our hiatus just ended.
Okay.
And we do 5 in a day. That's the Jeopardy secret.
Yeah.
When I come out and say, "Oh, welcome back yesterday," it's all a lie. I was just there 10 minutes ago in a different tie, but as soon as I can change my suit, we do another show.
And there's a lot of other Ken Jennings product, fortunately. You've written how many books now?
My 14th book just came out less than a month ago.
I really enjoyed Planet Funny. I have not read Connections, which is your latest, right?
It's a book of trivia puzzles. So read would be generous. Thank you for saying that. It's more of a back of the toilet kind of a book.
Oh. Well, my wife and I do the New York Times Connections every day and text each other our
My wife and I do it over dinner, yeah. Connections, which is my puzzle, predates Connections by over a decade, I want to say. So just for the record, New York Times.
Are you suing them?
I'm not suing them. Okay. No, I'm not prepared to announce my legal strategy on Week in Review. But
are you two trivia interested, Jeopardy watchers?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, at Targey's Tavern. I probably go to the trivia fairly regularly.
Okay. How do you do?
Not well. It turns out that I'm not very good at trivia at all.
Okay.
But you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not great at trivia, but I do love Jeopardy, and it is my dream to host trivia.
Oh.
I could carry trivia. I probably just couldn't win trivia.
Why do you want to host trivia?
Because it seems like so much fun. Because I love the interaction. Because I love smart people.
When you host, they give you the correct answer.
That's right. You
It's
don't
a
have to think very hard. You just have
It's
to read.
so much easier than playing trivia. Mike, you should consider this.
Maybe I will.
I'll come by.
And we're gonna talk about the news of the week. I just want to ask you about your podcast, The Omnibus.
Yeah.
Which is like a time capsule for listeners of the far future.
That's the conceit, but it's really just we had this amazing idea that two middle-aged white guys should just talk for an hour.
Yes, that's about time.
Finally, a podcast that
accomplishes that.
Finally takes care of that. So it's me and local musician and raconteur John Roderick, a Seattle legend. And we've been doing this for, 8 years now. We have over almost 700 shows under our belt. So we'll figure it out.
Well, I enjoy that too. I enjoy your stuff. I'm a fan.
Thanks
Bill. For coming on the show. All of you, thank you for being here. Should we talk? By the way, you can see all of us on YouTube.
Well, that's right.
Did you know that,
sit
Patricia?
up straight, Radke.
I did not, in fact, know that.
I was just informing you that you're being.
We're on TV.
Everybody just straighten up a little. Sorry about that, Ken. My bad.
I could have been in sweats, like we dodged a bullet.
Yes, that's true. Okay, let's get to the news. Our top story this week: Taylor Swift is engaged. Beyond that, there's local news as well, which is our remit. This week, 2 firefighters were arrested by U.S. Border Control while working on, by the way, our state's biggest wildfire. How odd is that? On the Olympic Peninsula. These were not state firefighters. These were contract workers, private freelancers. One of the crew bosses, David Buenos Diaz, says his teams include visa workers from Mexico, U.S. citizens, and members of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation.
Everybody works, no matter what intensity you are. We're all there for the same thing. We're all there to help the communities out, help the forest, and, just protect and serve.
Firefighters say on the morning of the event, crews were cutting wood when Border Patrol showed up, told people not to take videos, lined crew members up, demanded identification, and arrested the 2 people who U.S. Customs allege had entered the U.S. illegally. Customs says they were taken to a detention facility in Bellingham. Senator Patty Murray called the arrests immoral and dangerous. Governor Ferguson is demanding an explanation. The local firefighting team says the arrests did not interfere with the job of fighting the Big Gulch fire. So number one, could that be true? And if it is true that you could remove firefighters without interfering with their job, is this really any different from arresting a construction worker or anyone else?
I'll jump in. I think that it is different. I mean, especially if you have a live event going on. I used to have to cover fires quite a bit when I was a reporter in California, and they need everyone on the crew, and they need people who are not actually actively working to replace the people on the crews, because you get exhausted doing this work, particularly in the heat. In this particular case, it's 2 firefighters, and they increasingly rely on contract firefighters. They're not actually often state employees. They rely on these folks. Losing 2 is not going to change the capacity or the spread of the fire. However, what it's going to do is change the recruitment capacity in years moving ahead. This is going to make it much harder because there are people who are worried about this, who are not going to do this job, who actually have valid visas because they're hearing the stories about getting rolled up and deported. And so this is going to make it for the contractors who are fighting a higher percentage of fires all the time in the Western United States. It's going to make it much, much harder on them moving ahead from a recruitment and retention standpoint.
That's really interesting. I don't know what they were thinking, but I can say that all the attention serves the administration's purpose.
Entirely.
All eyes on this. Look how far we go. Look how tough and thorough we are. Patty Murray's condemnation, good attention for the administration's agenda. This is what Trump supporters voted for. This looks like success to them, and I think that is part of this.
I think you have to take into account the quantum of time and effort it takes ICE to get deep into the woods near a raging forest
Absolutely.
fire. That's
visual.
That's just how important that is to them. That it will pull people from literally anywhere, and that seems to be the takeaway here.
Well,
and I think it's not a popular policy, and I was glad to hear, like Patty Murphy, use that language instead of feeling like a Reagan-Nixon era Democrat who has to feel like, but we are tough on crime and immigration, we promise.
Yeah, no, that's true. And your point is actually well taken about how far in they are. But really, if you're a federal agent, what you do is, so every fire is set up in the exact same way from a firefighting standpoint. There's a base camp where it's kind of the logistics and operations center. And so what they're doing is going to the base camp because everyone has to return there to resupply, to refuel, to get water, to rest, to get in their sleeping bag, whatever they have to do during that period of time to eat. And so they know that they just camp out at base camp. And for some larger fires will have multiples, but generally a fire this size has one primary base camp, and they just wait there. And you got to come back because you are out of supplies when you're out in the woods.
Here's my question. Were they prepared to take everyone off the line there?
That's a good question.
I'm not sure they really cared what it meant for the firefighting effort, but, the resources they put into getting up there, the ROI for two people, it was, for me, I'm thinking it was far more about the visual.
Well, as with so much of the law enforcement of this administration, it does seem to be a lot of cosplaying. Like the ROI was two people, but we have pictures of we'll even go to forest fires.
Yeah.
And Patricia, your reaction was this is what Trump supporters voted for. And Ken, your reaction was this policy is actually not popular. I suppose both those could be true depending on what you mean.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of social media that I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in New Jersey. Trump is a very popular politician in New Jersey. People I went to high school with, I still see on social media. I stay in touch with them. This is very important to them, this effort. They think this is important.
I think like the Democrats are still treating immigration reform like some kind of untouchable third rail when the last time I saw this polled was July, and I think you could get 55% of Americans to say this draconian people in hoods pulling you into unmarked vans is going too far. Now, 55 seems low to me for people in hoods pulling you off the street, but that's a majority. That's something Democrats should be campaigning on, not avoiding.
So what do any of you want Governor Ferguson, for example, to do here? I mean, Mike, you said that this, even if this doesn't impede the fighting of this one fire, this dissuades other needed firefighters from working. Just for example, plus anybody else who's seeing this, right? All around, this is compounded, right? Whatever your job is, you don't show up. So does that mean it's worth Washington state officials antagonizing Trump again over this?
I mean, I don't know that I'm capable of answering that. But what I can say is that what the state would really have to worry about is that it's going to need more of its own hired people. If you notice, they very specifically targeted contractors, right? Those are the people that they think are not screening carefully enough to find out the difference between a citizen and a non-citizen, a visa worker and whatnot. So if I'm the state of Washington, you have to fight fires, right? You're usually working in coordination with the feds. In this particular case, you better have some capacity to backfill what you're going to be losing, not in 2025, but what you're going to be losing in 2026, 2027, and in the future.
By the way, I can't follow whether, under what circumstances, a company, these, as you said, these are private contractors, if they hire someone without documentation, when they face a penalty for that and when they don't?
They do face a penalty for that. So undocumented means not having legal documents. It doesn't mean not providing some documents. So, for example, the fake Social Security number, which is very, very common, literally does pay into the system, although no one except the government can collect from it. So they are not the idea is that they are not doing careful enough screening, and infrequently, if it looked like you had the correct paperwork and it was plausible, they will sometimes give you a pass. In some cases, they will fine you, but it tends to be it's not a criminal violation, it's a civil violation. So you will have to pay a penalty on this. In some cases, and I don't know, but maybe there are folks who figure cost of doing business, right? So I'm not sure what it is as far as the penalties handed out. There's certainly the financial penalties, but that's generally the way it works.
I don't know what penalties President Trump has paid for hiring undocumented workers at his hotels. So last note on this, again, as I was reading it, it jumped out to me that the largest fire burning in Washington state in an era when we just now expect 2/3 of our state to be on fire, at least that's how it can feel. The largest burning fire is this 9,000 acre fire on the Olympic Peninsula.
In the national park, I think. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
The Bear Gulch fire.
Bear Gulch,
Yeah.
yeah. Lake Cushman.
We've had, as far as fires go, we've had a remarkably good year.
Yeah, relatively good year.
Yes.
Easy.
Summer in Seattle was always so
It's
great.
not
and
over yet.
Now it's like Russian roulette. You're like, is today the day? Is today the day?
The sunsets aren't as pretty, but everything else is great.
Okay. And we still got September, as you say.
Exactly.
Last year it was September, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, before we take a break, since we're talking about immigration enforcement and the feds, the U.S. Transportation Secretary is saying that he might cut funding to Washington and a few other states unless they require truckers to speak English. President Trump has ordered states to revoke the commercial licenses of truckers who don't demonstrate English proficiency. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, says it's a matter of safety. Truckers need to understand road signs and be able to communicate with law enforcement about what they're hauling if they're pulled over or what happened if there's an accident. You agree? Is that important?
I think a limited understanding of road signs and directions are important. My main concern with this is that it is unequally enforced. That's my concern.
How so?
Well, the new English proficiency rule started over the summer, and it requires roadside inspections, that roadside inspectors conduct a brief interview with you. And if they think that you're not speaking English appropriately or not understanding them, they then conduct a highway test.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, and this is what is a little concerning to me. It feels a little subjective.
And is this new? There's never been a regulatory oversight over...
This has actually been in place. The English proficiency has been in place since the 30s,
That's what I
but
assumed.
the new rule, the executive order rule, started over the summer, that enforcement kick up.
Can I jump in with a super nerdy take on this?
Please.
Okay, so
I love that.
Super nerdy take. Look at a standard stop sign, octagonal red. It's also octagonal red everywhere. That's not by accident. And I actually had to write about this, so I apologize in advance because the nerd fog is going to get thick here. The 1968 Vienna Convention on Roadsides and Signals.
I was hoping we get to that.
I know. You've been waiting on this.
Ken Jennings is going to bring it up if nobody else did.
I feel like I'm connecting with Ken. So that actually established this international standard. That's why you can drive, and some of you in this room probably have, certainly many of the listeners have driven in other countries. And the reason you can, and that you recognize shape and color of signs as being a warning or not, is because of this accord. And it really started in gear in 1978, roughly speaking. So that has been done, and that was because there's truckers from Turkey who are driving in Austria. There are truckers in Mexico driving in California, vice versa. It solved these problems, and having driven in other countries, it is not this is a pretty ridiculous rationale that I think regarding roadside signs. They rarely have such explicit instructions that you don't actually know to slow down. The accident in question here had nothing to do with language skills.
Right,
literally, he made a U-turn
Yeah.
on a freeway. That's dangerous in any language.
Yeah, this happened earlier this month in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, three people died.
This is a ridiculous
Indian driver, native of India.
Yes.
And because this driver had a commercial license from all three of the states that are embattled, what was it, Washington, New Mexico, and California, Secretary Duffy is able to say, well, clearly it was these blue states who caused this random accident in Florida.
Precisely.
And just waving his hands, but there's no evidence for this.
No, none at all.
And I've rented cars in places that not only didn't speak English, but I rented a car in Japan where I don't know any of the three alphabets, and everything went fine.
And other side of the road.
Other side of the road.
Right.
Well, what about so understanding road signs is only a piece of it. The Transportation Secretary said if law enforcement wants to know what you're hauling, they need to have that conversation. If you get pulled over, if there's an accident, what about communicating?
That's on the manifest, right? I mean, literally all of this stuff is already taken. There's nothing here that is going to help truckers transport stuff safely and law enforcement interact with them because you're carrying a manifest that has it on there already. In
the
English.
manifest. I mean, you don't have to speak about it. You just show them the
you
list.
have to have all the paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What it is doing is causing licensing
There you
training
go.
agencies to teach to the test.
Right.
They are freaking the drivers out with this, and
Right.
they're all adding sections of like English proficiency tests. Like you need to understand these phrases, you need to understand these words. Drivers are really, really worried about this, and the people who do the trainings are trying to help. But a lot of those trainings are conducted in English and Spanish at the same time.
That's true.
You know, they're bilingual.
They are in
trainings.
California, I know
yeah,
that.
Yeah, Anyway, really interesting.
Okay, then final question, and it's the same one I asked you about the firefighting arrests. So the states that use this federal program they use it to improve commercial motor vehicle safety by funding enhanced driver and vehicle inspections, traffic enforcement, investigations, data collection, public education, and commercial driver's license compliance. So this $10.5 million could disappear. Is it worth the state refusing, saying this it's ridiculous and we refuse to enforce this English proficiency requirement?
It seems like a small amount.
There's so many ways this administration's going to bleed Washington.
Excellent point.
Just another one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the last story, constantly putting out fires. That's how it must feel to be governing a U.S. state at this point.
The decision shouldn't pivot on the $10 million. I mean, they've got that in the couch in Olympia, right? So I think that the bigger question here is how should the state respond is a legitimate one. Losing that much in funding for licensing probably isn't going to change much of anything.
And with the response, there's the question of there's the responding by just not ever getting back to them, and there's the responding on social media and calling them
a
out.
press conference and making it a thing.
Yes. Any preference? Any opinion?
I mean, I'm open to the idea that there should be higher language requirements for a commercial driver's license than just me renting a car in rural Japan. I mean, that doesn't seem crazy.
I don't think the language requirements are inherently bad. I think the way they're being enforced now, because we've been dealing with the existing system for how long without anyone finding a problem with it.
Can you imagine people being mad about this 10 years ago?
Right.
I understand that some truck drivers speak Bengali better than they speak English, and I'm furious.
Exactly.
Well, and what if you're not a native speaker and some law enforcement or inspector comes to quiz you on your English? How well are you going to perform under that kind of stress?
And how qualified are they to judge your English?
Well, and that's the subjectivity that's very concerning, right? Because humans are just humans.
Humans are just humans.
They
It's
really
a good tagline for the show. Okay, we're going to take a little break, and then as we are running through the news of the week and discussing it with you here on Week in Review, we're going to take up the rally that is scheduled for tomorrow, not on Capitol Hill, but at Gasworks Park, a rally of at least the leader of it, a professed Christian nationalist. What's the right response to that when we come back on Week in Review with Mike Lewis and Patricia Murphy and Jeopardy host Ken Jennings? We'll be right back.
Support for KUOW comes from Eco Design and Maintenance, family-owned and specializing in start-to-finish exterior design using materials and methods that help to reduce environmental impact. From landscapes to hardscaping, outdoor spaces designed to be functional and long-lasting. More at eco-seattle.com.
Support for KUOW's car donation program comes from local Kia dealers. The Sportage Hybrid offers a mix of SUV versatility, hybrid fuel efficiency, and technology features like a dual panoramic curved display. More at kia.com.
It's KUOW's Week in Review. I'm Bill Radke here with my panel from Geekwire, Mike Lewis from KUOW Podcast Seattle Now, Patricia Murphy, Queen of the World, I'm told.
You're so accommodating.
There it is. And the host of Jeopardy, which starts up again in a week or so.
Correct.
Ken Jennings.
Season 42. And you don't have to watch all previous 8,500 episodes. We can get you caught up immediately.
I binge watch, right?
I binge
From the
watched
very
41
beginning.
years.
Have you ever seen the first Jeopardy episode?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Well,
of course he has, Bill.
Alex is new to the job. He's very good, but he's kind of more of a traditional game show host with the big smile and the patter.
Guy Smiley.
They don't get to
That was
every
lovely.
clue. Yeah, because he's Guy Smiley. He just came off of High Rollers or something.
Right. Oh, that's good stuff.
It's
Okay.
funny, I dipped in after he really settled into I should go back and watch those early ones. That'd be cute.
I can't imagine him like that, actually.
He was always a little, because he's Canadian, he was always a little sterner. He wasn't the ingratiating kind of game show host. But it's funny to see him before he kind of gets his head around Jeopardy.
I love it. I'm going to check that out.
Rolling on with the news of the week, how to respond to a Christian nationalist rally in Seattle. As we told you this last week, the city granted a permit for the Let Us Worship rally at Gasworks Park tomorrow. You will remember that another right-wing Christian group rallied on Capitol Hill Memorial Day weekend, and there were physical confrontations with police and protesters, pepper spray, arrests, and a debate over whether that was just giving the provocateurs exactly what they wanted. Well, this week, a local transgender rights group announced it will hold its own event tomorrow, simultaneous with the Gasworks rally, called Louder Than Hate, Trans and Queer Joy as Resistance. The event will not be near the Christian rally. It won't even be outside. It'll be at Washington Hall on Capitol Hill. There still might be an opposition event at Gasworks because somebody's been putting up posters promising the world's largest kazoo performance of Chapel Roan's Pink Pony Club at Gasworks Park during the Christian rally.
Just to be clear, Bill, is this the world's largest kazoo performance of any song or just of Pink Pony Club?
We're sticklers for accuracy around here.
Yeah, good question. I think that poster promises the world's largest kazoo performance of Pink Pony Club.
Okay, of just that song. But still.
This is going to be a Jeopardy question someday, so we've got to get this.
Guinness is going to want to know.
Yes. First draft of history. So whether any of you personally are or are not Christian nationalists, how productive do these opposition events sound to you, especially compared with the ruckus over Memorial Day?
You know, I think it's great. I like the idea of the kazoo thing because it's taking one irritating event and creating another equally irritating event.
Why is that good?
To compete. Look, because it's harmless and it is not going to lead. I mean, I've never known, from what I can tell, kazoos rarely lead to violence, and so
it's often said.
It's often been said. I think that the appropriate response here is either humorous or none, because this is a recruitment tactic. Like, why would you do this in Seattle? I don't know that Seattle's necessarily residents are clamoring for this. Clearly some are.
Well, this group says it's because we're one of the dark and broken cities.
And agreed. So let's.
Okay.
So why are they here? They're here because they want that video moment. They want that extra oomph for Fox News or something along those lines. When people do get angry and potentially violent, this is a provocative event. But provoking to exist, it needs to have a response. And you create a minimal or a humorous response, and I think that you've accomplished everything you want to if you're not in favor of whatever event it is.
Humorous might be better than minimal. Minimal might give the idea that Seattle welcomes Christian nationalist rallies at our parks.
In what parallel universe would you say Seattle would welcome? I mean, I hear the logic behind it, but it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you don't react to it in Seattle, it just kind of goes away. It's not like people are going to say like, "Oh, Seattle's suddenly evangelical because people didn't respond loudly enough at an event like this."
I think there are people who think the most productive thing to do is ignore this and stay home and not give any air to a group that they consider to be offensive. But I am not sure that strategy is as effective as it used to be, right? Because this is a competition for eyes and ears, and social media ensures that there will definitely be eyes on this. So it becomes less effective to not show up.
But why is it a competition for the number of eyes and ears?
Well, because this Christian nationalist group wants that interaction. They want that attention. So, to your point, there is a certain satisfaction in people who take the time to drown out loudly the voices they don't agree with. It is loud and it's probably exhausting, but both sides here consider themselves to be on the front lines.
But I would argue, I think you're completely right, except when I would apply Seattle or say Berkeley or maybe Madison, Wisconsin. I mean, there are places that are not under any threat of turning conservative, and not under any threat of turning conservative if people don't respond to things. Now, I would say in a city that is more in the purple area, let's say Vancouver, Washington, good example, then you have to show up. But in a city like Seattle, I can't see, this thing will be tiny, and it will be tinier if no one shows. But on the other hand, I do like the idea of something funny.
The thing is, we can't count on nobody showing up.
Well,
I think
true.
that's the
entirely,
thing,
you're entirely
right?
correct.
There is no way that nobody's going to show up to agitate. So that message will be lost immediately.
Also, it's pretty easy for me as a marginalized trans person to be like, let them say terrible things about me in Gasworks Park, one of my favorite places in Seattle. Like, that hits a little different for me, because it's not targeted at me. But if I was one of those people, I think I would like the sense that my community was standing by me and not sitting at home.
They're going to say them whether you're there or not, right? I mean, they're going to, right? And what they're going to get is that moment where they get it like out on media. This is that conflict.
But Ken is saying
is the fuel of a viral video
and react.
Yeah, I think the argument that this looks bad if we protest back goes back to the civil rights rallies of the 60s and has not aged always well. And I understand you're making a very narrow carve.
I'm making a very narrow point here. I'm not in any way suggesting that.
Right.
I think the Lavender Rights Project event sounds like both a rally and self-care event is probably the healthiest approach for people who don't necessarily agree with them. I am all for that in 2025, taking care of each other, lifting each other up. I just imagine that there are people who would want to protest, want to say something, who can't be there for one reason or another, and I would want people up there on my behalf if I felt marginalized and unempowered.
Well, let me ask you about the kazoos, because you said, there's a value in humor. But as it comes off to a lot of Americans watching these videos, does it seem funny, or does it just seem snide to be playing kazoos while somebody who you oppose, who you find their rhetoric hateful? This is a group that says it wants, this leader has said he wants the Bible to be the law of the land and all that. And we know there's a history of violence when especially the Christian church has a well-documented history of violently oppressing heretics. Okay, so that's all the backstory to it. So they're saying what they're saying. But in 2025, when someone's watching that video, does it seem like, hey, you know what? Those people are silly? Or is the reaction, really, Seattleites, do you need to show up? These people, why don't you let them do their thing and praise their Lord?
It's kind of a privileged position to say, just let them do that. Let them have that hate over there. We'll do our thing over there, because there are people who are being harmed, right? There are people who are being harmed by that.
But are you doing anything about that privilege? Is it as funny? Is it coming off as funny to other people as it is to you to show up and try to kazoo them down? Not shout them down,
I think somebody does the same thing to
down.
the dude that stands out in front of the Mariners
I
Stadium.
was just thinking about the street preachers at the Mariners.
I brought that up in the show notes before. The people who walk past every single Mariners game, which is I find the street preachers there insanely irritating, right? Really, because it's so loud. You're trying to get past. But what I do is I walk right by. I don't engage, and if I'm going to, I don't go to that many games, and I don't see a strong need to sit there and get in a debate with them about my own personal.
But there is a guy that
kazoo at them.
There is a guy that stands next to them with a funny sign now, and an arrow, which I think is maybe the visual equivalent of a kazoo.
This is what I'm talking about. I think that's actually kind of effective.
Yeah, and I think there's the optics of it are. It seems harmless. I don't know if it seems snide, Bill. It seems harmless. It's the equivalent of a daisy and a rifle. It's this is what we answer violent rhetoric with.
Okay. Fair. One last note on this particular rally. The director of Capitol Hill Pride is calling on Mayor Bruce Harrell to revoke this rally permit. Charlotte Lefevre called this group's anti-LGBTQ rhetoric a safety threat to the community.
The very fact that our own mayor and our own city are allowing this, or essentially sanctioning hate speech, is incredibly irresponsible. It's a discourtesy and it's an insult to the public. This is not a gray area, okay? We are looking at the safety of the public, and at the end of the day, the mayor and the city council, and yes, our city attorney, should all be looking at the safety of the public. Okay, and not as even if it's in addition, it is hugely obviously insulting to the community.
But Seattle's mayor has answered this question before, and he told King 5 News, no, denying the permit is not an option.
The law is crystal clear. You cannot shut down a venue on anticipated speech. Any group under the First Amendment has a right to use one of our public assets, such as a park, to have assembly. That's embedded in the First Amendment, and we have to respect the First Amendment.
Any dispute about who's right?
And I don't say this often, Bruce Harrell's right.
First Amendment.
Yeah, he's entirely correct. They absolutely should not withdraw the permit. That is a really slippery slope once we start making those decisions like that. And certainly it's happening at the administration level in D.C. So I don't know. I don't think he has a choice but to allow it to happen, to hope that enough people, law enforcement is there should things go sideways in a manner that they don't anticipate, and let these people say what they're going to say. The same way they would for people who are protesting on the other side.
I'm curious about the conversations because it was moved from Cal Anderson to Gasworks.
Right.
I wonder how those conversations went.
Yeah,
that was in jointly between the city and the Christian Nationalist group.
They just wanted to put a moat between the protest
There was supposed to be
and
a
a portion
Jesus
of Seattle.
parade, but I heard that went south.
Okay, speaking, let's see what happens tomorrow. We'll be KUOW News. We'll be covering that, of course, so we'll discuss this next week. On the topic of city government response, totally different aspect of this. How do you want your city government to use AI or not? This week, the local news site Cascade PBS and KNKX reported on how local city workers use large language models like ChatGPT to help them do research, summarize court cases and legislation and public comments, and write grant requests, make social media posts and policy documents, and emails to constituents who sometimes find these emails oddly impersonal, generic, even dismissive sounding. Many questions here, including some ethical ones. Patricia, what got your attention?
Oh, how revealing these prompts were about the insecurities of our government
The prompts
officials.
that the city workers are...
Yes,
go ahead.
The desperation from the poor, probably policy person in Bellingham's government who popped this query into ChatGPT. I'm having trouble convincing the local government that I work for to fund climate action. What can I do? That makes me sad. But, seriously, there was another prompt from a worker in Everett who asked ChatGPT, using the mayor's voice, can you rewrite this letter to be a little more collaborative and less aggressive in tone?
I assume that's from the mayor's office?
I want the original one, and I want to know why the mayor's so aggressive. I actually wonder if she's just direct.
I'd also like to see if they just had the more aggressive version of it. I would like to have seen that one as well.
Make this more aggressive.
Yeah, we're just brainstorming.
Brainstorming, right.
All these questions kind of presuppose this general attitude of the public that AI is infallible and that it can do anything. Things we did not just a year or two ago would have assumed it could never do. And I think that might be a little bit credulous. Like, my sense of the state of play in large language models now is that there's narrow domains that they are changing. And for the most part, we did not anticipate a world where AI would be taking over and would be terrible and inaccurate all the time. I guess I thought it would be one or the other.
We were trading up. We thought we were trading up.
Which leads to my point. I've used I'm sure other people in Seattle have the Find It, Fix It app, right?
Love it.
And I do
This
too.
is the Seattle
one of my favorite
app.
apps.
You
It's one of my
report a
favorite
pothole or whatever.
It's one of my favorite apps in terms of UX, in terms of interface. It's not one of my favorite apps in terms of response and calling SDOT as well. And so my first reaction to this was like, all right, well, we can either have a human who is, maybe shining me on or ignoring my request, or we can have an AI do it. And so I don't know. I don't see it like in many cases. I don't think that we're going to find a whole lot of difference in performance between the two. I do agree that cities need to have some sort of idea about AI and some sort of filtering process or regulation process in place, but it is so far beyond a city to regulate something like that. We don't even do it as a country, much less as a city.
I want to lay out a few of the issues here. So for one thing, workers, remember, are feeding the public's data into these chatbot model.
Yes.
So this reporter, Nate Sanford, used public records requests and got the ChatGPT conversation logs.
And that reporter gets a whole load of credit for
Oh
doing
my
that.
gosh,
When I
what a
saw that, I
brilliant
immediately had that
request.
wave of jealousy. Like, oh, such a
Totally.
good idea.
How many people using ChatGPT don't even know that their queries are still there?
Thank you.
And subpoenaable.
Yes.
You
No,
know, like,
exactly.
So
think
true.
about what you ask AI, people.
So some of these ChatGPT histories were actually redacted because there was confidential and personal information that the workers provided. So
And
there are-
redacted from his Freedom of Information Act request, not rejected from the actual
Right.
database.
Right, that's the problem
It's
there.
still
Exactly.
out there.
Right. Okay. So I'll give you an example. The state has guidance on this that's not necessarily followed. But it lays out a few issues, and I'm curious what you think, what you want from your city government in these situations. So the state guidance is humans need to review all AI content for bias and accuracy. So you don't just put it out there, you review it. Avoid putting confidential data into chatbots. We discussed that. Or to draft communication materials on sensitive topics that require a human touch. AI-generated content should be labeled. Curious what you think about that, including with the model of chatbot that was used, the name of the human who reviewed the AI output, and the exact language of the prompt. The reporter says this guidance, quote, does not appear to be widely followed. Why? Why do you think that is?
Shocker.
I like labeling AI content as AI, but I think the Overton window should include a lot of opinions, including AI abolitionism. Like, I think there should be people out there literally saying, we should not be using this maybe for anything right now. Like, I think that's a legitimate point of view.
You would want your city to just ban the use of AI, even though it can be efficient?
Yeah, this is a streaming show I just thought of. Everyone wants to move to the city that doesn't use AI. Some AI-free place in Alaska.
AI-free zone.
If they use AI the way the way many companies use their extremely useless FAQ sections, right? Then the frequently asked questions section, then I'm fine with it. I don't mind if they use AI as long as they put a human on the other end. As long as there's someone answerable to that has a name, that has a phone number or an email address, then I'm fine with them.
You don't
using
need
whatever
any
tool.
notification that AI was involved.
That notification would be nice, but if there's a human on the other end, then they are inherently responsible for whatever that AI kicked out and put their name on as the respondent. So
yeah, that was
however they
basically
want to take
Bellingham's-
ownership on it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, the leader, I don't remember if it was the mayor, but the Bellingham official who spoke to the reporter basically said, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Just what you said. If you use AI, you are assuming responsibility.
Absolutely.
In Everett, they can't use ChatGPT anymore. They're
Yeah.
making them use Microsoft Copilot
Yep.
because ChatGPT is not secure. So we've got big problems.
Right.
By the way, this Cascade PBS KNKX story it was all about Everett and Bellingham. Because Seattle didn't, Seattle didn't
to
get
any
back to
reporter
them
in
right
Seattle.
away. They're responding in installments.
Yeah.
So in other words, not in time for the
5
story
years.
deadline.
Yeah, exactly. That's
When
the standard
AI
Seattle
could read
response.
all this for you.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, I was going to say, couldn't Seattle use AI to get that response out
Seattle
faster?
process even in reporter replies.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I kind of do want my city workers to feel a spark and a creative spark in their jobs. I'm not sure using AI is the best way to creatively solve problems.
Let me just quickly push back on that. What about the folks who say that it's helped them with to craft a letter to a family member or something like that? Like, I think that there are people who will delay responding because they can't think about how to write it. And if they can just get a prompt and then, maybe rewrite that, or then they will actually respond more quickly. And I think sometimes the speed of the response does matter to the person who's writing it.
We had this conversation a little bit around empathy, right? If you can't write empathetically, is it okay to ask the AI?
To simulate.
Because empathy is important, but you're just
Absolutely.
not good at it.
And less aggressive
AI,
tone.
give me human empathy.
Well, it does imply that AI is
Help me
better
be
than
more
you.
human.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
me be more empathetic and less aggressive.
Oh, man.
By the way,
I'm tired of pretending to be empathetic. I want software to pretend to be empathetic so I don't have to.
if you do a public records request, you're going to also find workers goofing off. One Everett staffer told ChatGPT, generate a picture of me looking awesome, which, okay, maybe they were testing out the system, but one Bellingham official used ChatGPT to generate dozens of minion memes until the chatbot began refusing the requests, apparently because of an update to its content policies. The staffer tried getting around the restriction by asking for humanoid banana memes. The chatbot refused.
Your tax dollars at work. Your tax
Final
dollars
thing,
at work.
we're always hearing that AI is going to throw tons of people out of work, and private companies have a profit motive to eliminate human employees. I get that. But then couldn't governments hire those unemployed people to actually answer the phone when you call this, to beef up? There's going to be all these free-floating unemployed people. Could government, if you take some of the supposedly insane profits that some companies will rake in from AI, could we shift some of that money to upping the human public service?
So an AI
troops?
tax.
Yeah.
A what?
An AI tax. Well, if Seattle has not yet thought of it, but as of the result of this show, I'm sure it will.
Soon. We'll see an announcement this afternoon.
Microsoft will be carved out somehow.
Yes. Right. Okay, let's take a little break because we want to see what else we can fit in. I was going to say jam in. That sounds so negative.
Yeah.
What do we have time for? We're having such a good time. We want you to know what happened this week. We're going to round out the show, tell you what made us smile when we come right back.
Support for KUOW comes from Third Place Books. Mona Awad discusses her new book, We Love You, Bunny, a sequel and prequel to the author's novel Bunny. Monday, September 29th at 7 p.m. Ticket information available at thirdplacebooks.com. The news moves fast, and so does your day. If you missed All Things Considered, you can now catch up on the latest show in your podcast feed. Just search KUOW All Things Considered, and then queue it up whenever you're ready to listen. That's the KUOW All Things Considered podcast, also available on the KUOW app and KUOW.org/podcasts.
You're listening to KUOW's Week in Review. I'll give myself second billing because Jeopardy host Ken Jennings is here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very courteous.
Maybe third billing. I mean, we do have the queen of the world, KUOW, Seattle Now host Patricia Murphy. What am I saying?
Yeah,
We've got Geekwire contributing editor Mike Lewis here, who certainly deserves
An
recognition.
occasional Bill Radke stand-in.
And yes, sometime co-host or sometime host of this show. And I'm Bill Radke. Okay, we got a little time left. What have we missed that happened this week? The Food and Drug Administration approved updated COVID vaccines for the fall, but limited who can get the shots. Now, there are still regulatory hurdles to go, but Ken, it is possible that you won't be able to get the new vaccine without a doctor's order unless you're 65 and older or have an underlying medical condition.
I'm the host of Jeopardy, so all my viewers are 65 or older. I plan on getting the vaccine next week, and I'm afraid that pharmacists are worried about their licensing, are going to start asking me which of these conditions I have, and luckily it's a long list, and I feel like I could plausibly pull some of them off.
Really? What are you thinking?
Well, physical inactivity is on the list.
Really?
Yes. That is an underlying condition still.
Already at the loopholes. I like it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's my underlying down condition.
And if they want evidence, I can show them my streaming passwords and I can prove my physical inactivity.
All right. Also, Ken, I have a future Jeopardy answer for you, and it happened this week.
Okay.
This Major League Baseball player hit more home runs in one season than any other catcher. And I hope the only accepted response is, who is the Big Dumper?
Big Dumper.
Yeah.
The one thing Jared Kelnick gave the Mariners is really that nickname. And now national announcers have to say it too.
I hope he is getting a percentage of all the Big Dumper souvenirs and jerseys that are being done right. I hope he's getting his little taste of that.
He should have run to the
I feel
trademark
like
office.
he just entered into a commercial contract with somebody, didn't he?
Honey
Yeah,
Bucket.
Honey
It was porta
Big
potties.
Dumper.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Ken, in case you were suggesting this, you were mentioning this when we were talking about what to discuss this week. So I don't know if you're excited about the KUOW Raleigh home run. I'm going to make a case and let you out argue me. I will. As happy as I am for the Big Dumper, I find the level of hype about this stat and record to be obtuse. I believe it misses what is exciting and special about baseball, which is base hits past a diving fielder and balls off the wall and base runners taking risks and throws from the outfield and tags and close plays. Not only that, it's one statistic, not even the most important statistic, and it's one player playing one position for one season convinced me that I really need to hear about this Cal Raleigh record
Bill,
over and over and over.
The people want to see dingers, Bill.
Chicks love the long ball. Remember that commercial?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Like it's just an irresistible story. This kid who maybe seemed like he was just going to be a backup catcher maybe for the Mariners when he came out of the minors.
True.
And wins the home run derby this year, and there's video with his dad pitching and his brother catching, and there's video of him as a kid saying, "I'm gonna win the home run derby someday." Like,
that's good.
You could not script it. So for you to sit here and say, "But Ken, I like to see a good walk. I like to see a runners in scoring position." I think his advanced stats are good too. This is all from my baseball nerd son, but apparently bat speed is one of the new advanced metrics that's apparently a really good predictor of performance. And apparently Cal's just always been off the charts. He's got like,
especially with the steroids kicking in.
No. That was a different time.
I was joking. That was a joke.
But the other
Half
thing,
a joke.
The other thing is what I've read about anyway, because I don't follow this super closely. But what I've read also is what's also unusual about him is that other catchers who have done well, they're not necessarily everyday players, because that's known to be a notoriously difficult, punishing job.
You're squatting all hours
game, and you're actually involved all the game. You're not, more than even the pitchers are. They don't last a whole game anymore, and so you really are out there.
And even mentally, you're calling
Completely.
every pitch. It is it
to
takes
be able
a
to hit
huge
that
toll.
well at that position is kind of rare, and to hit that well at any position for the Mariners is kind of rare. And so I can completely understand why the big deal.
I'm going to quibble with that, which is to say, this is a little inside baseball, and then we're going to pull out of this.
All right,
but you're right. It takes a toll to be a catcher. It's hard to hit home runs when you're a catcher. Cal Raleigh has not hit all his home runs playing catcher because he is a designated hitter. Sometimes a designated
but a fairly
hitter.
high percentage.
Yes.
The vast majority came in a game where he was catching.
Okay, but we're not. If we're at the point of him tying, for example, Johnny Bench, who did not have the advantage of a designated hitter, I just want that to be in the mix, in the discussion. A little asterisk.
Now we know what the source is. He's a Johnny Bench guy.
Okay.
Now we know.
All right. If you don't care about baseball,
Johnny Bench truthers weighing in.
Here, let's end on some agreement. Can we agree that if this is a great storyline, the Mariners get an unprecedented, unexpected power jolt from the hard to hit a home run position of catcher, and it powers the hapless Mariners to their first World Series. Now I care.
Could happen.
It could well happen.
I hope it happens.
I believe.
I have said to my friends, I have my own sports teams that I grew up rooting for. If I could, rather than any of them getting a championship, I would gift it to Mariners fans, because watching them completely freak out when the Seahawks win the Super Bowl is still one of the best things I've seen in town. And I want to see the Mariners, even longer suffering Mariners fans, completely lose their minds.
Okay, then those home runs matter.
All right.
All right. We got to go. So what made you smile this week, Mike?
Ken is going to help me on my smile this week.
Here's a clue for all you listeners out there. She is the longest serving employee and bartender at Seattle's Streamline Tavern, and maybe, quite possibly, Queen Anne's biggest Jeopardy fan.
I'm going to have to go with, who is Patty Bingham?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You have control of the board, Mike.
For those just tuning in, that was Jeopardy host Ken Jennings with an assist on that smile. Well done.
Not even on Cameo, but Patty, for you, anything.
Oh, very nice.
Anybody else smile this week, or just Mike and Ken?
I spent 3 glorious hours at the Woodland Park Zoo on Monday night watching Wilco, and
you were one of the people who got the tickets.
Fantastic show. Oh my gosh.
Lucky you.
Best venue in the city.
It is.
Best
Love
venue
Zoo
in the
Tunes.
city. Yeah, and you know what? It was Jeff Tweedy's birthday.
Nice.
So
he was actually in a good mood.
He was in a great mood until he got stung by a bee, and he carried it really well. Yeah, he complained
On
about
stage.
the allergies. He got stung in the middle of a song.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty wild. He carried it very well. Yes, it was a lovely show. Great way to end the summer with my family.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Ken, did anything make you smile?
I went to see the new Spike Lee movie at Cinerama, the former Cinerama, it's now SIF downtown, and I had the half chocolate popcorn.
Yes,
You
yeah,
got to
do
get
that.
half salt, half chocolate.
Nice.
And I was smiling throughout. Denzel was chewing the scenery. I was chewing the popcorn. Good times.
Quick smile. Have you guys been to Din Tai Fung at Seattle's Pacific Place Mall?
Yes.
Yes.
Where you know that there's long lines at that one restaurant and very little else going on.
Yep.
Because with the internet and the pandemic and commercial rents, there's a lot of empty storefronts in general, and there's a Seattle program to creatively fill storefronts with pop-ups and art installations, which includes the Seattle Fat Mall, which I read about in Seattle Met. The Seattle Fat Mall is a collection of colorful shops, spacious dressing rooms, a tattoo studio with rotating artists, accessible bathrooms with bidet attachments, a welcoming lounge area painted in pastels, fans strategically placed to help keep people cool while browsing. The art on the wall features bigger bodies, as do the cards used by the resident tarot reader. No mirrors designed to make you look smaller. No unsolicited health advice. No brands that stop at an XL. The result has been what might be best dubbed as retail therapy in its highest form. And I smile at the creativity and fortitude.
What a freeing place to be.
And that is
Right?
Fat F or Fat PH?
I believe it's just FAT.
All right.
Yeah.
You had
Brilliant.
the day
What a great
attachments.
idea.
Yes, I know. I would smile if we could just keep doing. Can we do another hour? Or do we have to
Bill.
leave? Oh, that's all right. KUOW's Patricia Murphy there, host of Seattle Now, and Jeopardy host Ken Jennings has got a show to do.
I got to run. We're on at 7:30.
7:30. When does it start?
Next Monday, we're back on the air. Season
Next
42.
Monday, season 42. Watch them all.
Don't miss one.
Don't miss episode 1, as we heard about earlier. Sorry if you missed it. Geekwire contributing editor Mike Lewis. Great to see you too.
Thanks, Bill.
This show is produced by Kevin Kniestedt with Kathy Faulkner on the board and social media help from Juan Pablo Chiquiza and Hans Twite. I'm Bill Radke, looking forward to talking to you again next week on Week in Review.
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, why does Donald Trump care so deeply about the arts? Adam Gopnik on Trump and culture, next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour.
Tomorrow at 1 p.m. here on KUOW FM Seattle, KUOW Tumwater, KQOW Bellingham.
KUOW provides space for ideas and curiosity. KUOW